History was written, but the chapter is not closed just yet. Welcome, everyone, to the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper, as we are still live here in Wichita. Survive and advance. The Drake Bulldogs make history, moving on to the round of 32 for the first time since 1971 after taking down Missouri 67-57 in round one of the NCAA tournament. March Madness, history made. You Drake Bulldog fans deserve it. Let's cheer. Let's get loud. Let's celebrate. The work's not done by any means, but damn, does this one feel really good. And I know there's fans out there that were, going to college at Drake during that 69 run. My grandpa had a TV media class with Dolph Polium that year. And I know there's younger fans, Taryn, who's just starting to experience this. He deserves it just as much as those who have stuck around from the beginning. This is amazing. It was hard. When you're sitting at press row, you can't cheer. It's just by rule. It's professional. It was hard not to. I mean, first thing I sent to my dad was, man, we've been waiting a long time to finally see an NCAA tournament win. In 2021, with Darren and those guys, that meant a lot too, because that was the turning point of this program. But yeah, it doesn't feel the same. A first four game doesn't feel the same as a first round victory over an SEC team. No, it does not feel the same. But you fans, you deserve this. It was a great game. We'll dive into it, of course, in today's show. We'll get into all the stats, what I saw, concerns, stuff I really enjoyed, stuff that will get us ready as Texas Tech will be who Drake plays tomorrow night around 5:10, the tip-off time. I'll do a better job, too, of trying to update you if it gets pushed back. I noticed I didn't do that yesterday when it got pushed back from the, whatever it was, 6:35 tip to like 6:42. So I'll do better at getting that out if it does get pushed. Hopefully it doesn't, though. But you fans, enjoy this. Hopefully more now travel down to hopefully see Drake take down Texas Tech in a matchup that has so many great storylines, and we'll get to that as well. But before anything else, I spoke with head coach Ben McCollum last night after the win, and this is him on just the historic nature of getting through that first round and, his message to the Bulldog faithful that have stuck around for so long and have waited so long to see this victory.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, obviously they took a chance on Division II guy and then took a chance on a bunch of D2 players and junior college kid and a couple transfers, and they proved a lot of people right, a lot of people wrong, and it's fun to do that.
And I like what he says there. I mean, so humble and talking about how the fans really they took a chance on a guy that came from D2, all the players, and that storyline is tired. I think last night Bennett Sturts, putting up his 21 points, Banks dominating, just the way the team looked as a whole. It's a great story, but it's not the entire story of this team. It's just a small chapter of what this team has been able to accomplish and what they're able to really do. I mean, there's still more left to be desired from this team. And that's incredible to say as a Bulldog fan, as someone who has stuck around with this team through, one amazing year in 08 and then some really tough years following that. It feels crazy to say, man, doesn't it feel like there should be more after a first-round victory in the NCAA tournament? But let's jump into it. Let's go into how Drake was able to win this historic battle against Missouri. And how Drake beat Missouri simply was they did the dirty work. What this team has done all year long has done the dirty work really well. And first off, they attacked the boards. Missouri was so much taller than Drake. And by a few, analysts, was more athletic, more deep. And these guys, out-rebounded the Tigers 31-26. And with the style in which Drake likes to play their offense and really, diving into that clock, you give them an extra possession, you're putting yourself kind of with your back up against the wall now if you're the Missouri Tigers. And that's what happened. Drake got extra possessions, was able to take up more of the shot clock, was able to, run their offense in the style in which they want to. And it all stemmed from attacking the glass, 31-26. And then, as always, this team was active defensively. Really impressed with Mitch Muscari. Really, since that Bradley game in St. Louis, he has become a really, really strong defender. Active hands. And for those who have followed this team all year long, they're not surprised. This is what this team identity is. This is what the team is really, really talented at, and that's really being defensively active. And they had 13 steals against the Tigers, leading to 23 points off of turnovers. And what these allowed Drake to do was control the pace of the game, play at their style, which is all about efficiency. 52% from the field, 50% from beyond the arc. And if you let Drake dictate the speed, you're in danger if you're an opposing team. So Drake able to take down Missouri 67-57 in a game that had a lot of ups and downs. Wasn't an easy victory by any means. And really, Coach McCollum said it best last night, talking about how they were able to win this in a gritty fashion. Here's Coach Ben McCollum after the game talking about the Bulldogs' gritty win against the Missouri Tigers in round 1 of the NCAA tournament.
We can't win unless it's gritty. So that's how we have to win. That's just our deal. That's how we're built with tough kids and kids that fight for each other. And sometimes it's not pretty, but it is fun. And our kids, love to serve each other, love to fight.
And I just love his ability to adjust. First half jitters, you were kind of expecting that. You expect that from every team. To be honest, I mean, this is a huge stage. Everyone in the country is watching. It's a lot for anyone, whether you're Duke or you're Drake. And Drake came out with a little bit of the jitters. 1 of 4, 5 turnovers, more turnovers than shots in that first 5 minutes, 6 minutes of the first half. But then they slowed down. After that media timeout, Coach McCollum got them into the huddle, and they were able to adjust and slow down. And they ended up shooting 12 of 23, and it really stemmed from their defense leading to easy offense. They held Missouri to 23 points in the first half, which was their lowest half total all season long. And they forced 9 turnovers, and the Tigers only shot 7 of 21. In the second half, it started off very similar. Missouri started 0 of 5. Drake really starting to take control. But I think a lot of Bulldog fans did not feel comfortable with the lead, and that's just because of the history. I mean, last year against Washington State in Omaha, that was a game many Bulldog fans felt comfortable with, and the lead slipped away at the end. Then you go to Albany in 2023, first round against what would be a future Final Four team. Drake dominated that game. They were the best team on the floor, and that's with half of the starters having food poisoning. Darnell Brody had a career game, and it slipped away from them at the end. This team was different, though. So Drake able to prevail despite Missouri going on a 9-0 run. That was all free throws. Despite Missouri having most of the fans in the stadium really getting loud in that run, and Drake, not wavering at any moment. So Drake prevailed, led by Sturtz, who had an incredible game, 21 points, a one-legged 3 that one tore his sock, but don't worry, he has extra, and has been posted all over social media. I mean, that shot, I can't scroll without seeing it being posted on social media. It was on ESPN this morning as well. And then you had great help from the bench. Tavion Banks, the 6th man of the year in the Valley, someone who could easily be a starter anywhere else, puts up 15 points off the bench. You had the true freshman and Isaiah Howard going off for 7 points. Just the team played one of its best offensive performance, I think, as a whole. And just that's the style in which Drake likes to play. That's the grittiness that fans and people who have covered this team all year long have been waiting to see. And they have seen it for the most part. I mean, there's a reason this team is 31-3. There's a reason they cut down the nets in the regular season and in St. Louis. I think the only two concerns about this game was, number one, free throws. It felt like Drake could have had a comfortable lead there towards the end, but really struggled at the charity stripe. 12 of 24. Missouri went 23 of 26. Really took advantage there late in the second half. And again, we worry about the fouls just because, you saw teams, again, I always reference this team, but the Billy Donovan Florida teams, really physical and active defensively. They had the same issue where when you're so active defensively, you could be as disciplined as possible. And this team's very disciplined defensively. But sometimes refs aren't used to seeing such physical defense. And you can get called for some ticky-tacky stuff. And that kind of sort of happened with Drake. I mean, a lot of players with 3+ fouls down the stretch. Manyow, Abreu, Banks, Sturts, I believe, Mascari. So that is something just to be cautious about. And I know the coaches are, and I know the players are. They've gone throughout this whole season understanding that's a possibility. But really, other than that, no major concerns. This was how Drake wanted to play this game. This was how we thought it would go. It was going to take Drake dictating the pace. It was going to take the Bulldogs to really control the glass and them to really physically dominate a team that was much bigger and longer. But Drake pulling off the upset, it was a great feeling. Great feeling as a Bulldog fan. One of the coolest experiences. Really happy with the turnout from Bulldogs. They were loud too. They were very loud. And again, usually I'm a guy that's like, man, you've waited 54 years. Do what you want. I will say, and maybe I'm in the minority, the overrated SEC chant, I've never been a big fan of that because I think it diminishes what you do. This was a really good team. The SEC has 14 teams in the NCAA. That's a very good conference. And it's a great win for the Bulldogs. And then you shout overrated SEC. It kind of feels like, well, so they're not good? You didn't just beat a good team? I've never liked that overrated chant. I've never been a showboater, though. I mean, I grew up idolizing Tim Duncan, big fundamental, who one of my favorite highlights in NBA history is during the 2013 NBA Finals where Tony Parker starts talking crap to LeBron James, and all of a sudden you just see this huge long arm of Tim Duncan grab him by the back of the jersey and start pulling him towards the sideline. That's one of the main reasons I became a Tim Duncan fan, was stuff like that. So I always thought it was cool when players just went out on the floor, like a Bennett Sturts, and had a killer mentality and dominated a game, took over a game, and didn't do the too small, didn't showboat. I liked that. But you know what? You've been waiting 54 years. You do what you want. It was a great experience, and I'm so happy the Bulldogs were able to pull off this victory. But like we said, job's not over yet. Moving on to the round of 32 for the first time since 1971, and they will take on Texas Tech, which we will get into the storylines with that game here in a little bit. But before we move on, let's give a huge shout out to our title sponsor in Kelly's Little Nipper, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Make sure to go check out Kelly's Little Nipper. And hopefully you're able to get in with they have that golf outing. And hopefully you're able to get in because that thing sold out very fast. And Jeff tried to warn you on Facebook. and I didn't get in fast enough. I texted Jeff and I was like, "Hey, maybe Media Row can get a team together." And he's like, "Yeah, let me know." And so I think that was on Wednesday. So we went to open shoot arounds, and I'm like, getting social media posts out, doing all that. Come back to the hotel later that night after dinner, and I'm getting ready to text a few people about, hey, we should do this summer. We should join the Kelly's Little Nipper golf outing. And I log in, and first thing I see on Facebook is Kelly's Little Nipper posting, well, hopefully you got in because all 32 slots are filled, and which is awesome. I mean, again, when Jeff and I were talking about doing this partnership, one of the main things he said he wanted me to stress about, and something I was already going to talk about because going there with family and friends, the best part is community. And then when you see a golf outing get sold out in like 24 hours or maybe a little less, that's when you know you're with something special. And also people love golf. But very cool. Very excited to see how that goes for Kelly's Little Nipper. But always make sure to go there. Great people, great food, great music, great drinks, all the good stuff you would want at a great local bar. So make sure go check out Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. And if you do, make sure to tell them that Media Row sent you. So let's jump in to this preview of Drake and Texas Tech. Game at 5:10. I think it's on TNT. You have two teams with a lot of great storylines. Before we get into that, though, make sure to go check out on social media. I reposted it everywhere. But RedRaidersports.com, they contacted me late last night, and they were like, apologize for the late text. I was already up because I was still posting stuff. But they were like, can we talk to you about, previewing Drake? Absolutely. Anytime I can talk about Drake, I'm happy. So I reposted it. Go check out RedRaidersports.com, and you can check out a great Q&A that I did with Red Raider Sports, and also the writer was a really, really nice guy in Ben Golan, so go follow him as well. And just it was a Q&A, asked about just Bennett Sturtz and his play style, Drake, kind of what needs to happen for either team to come out on top and move forward to the Sweet 16. And it was a great conversation, and I think it's a really well-written article, so go check it out. But we've been talking about it constantly, about how many storylines are here with the Drake and Texas Tech battle. So the storylines, it first starts with these two met, in early July in a secret scrimmage. Drake lost 75-66, but these two have already met each other this season. They're familiar in a sense. And then who's really familiar are the head coaches. Grant McCaslin and Ben McCollum have a huge connection. They're good buddies, actually, in the locker room as the media was waiting out for the locker room to be available. Texas Tech was getting ready to hit the floor. Ben McCollum and Grant McCaslin actually embraced each other, had a conversation, and McCollum turned down being an assistant at Texas Tech. So a lot of connections there between the coaches. And then there's connections with the players too. Kevin Overton left Drake last year. He transferred to Texas Tech this year, and he's facing off against his old team. He's averaging 8.2 points per game, 4 rebounds, and is shooting at a 42% clip. And last night against UNC Wilmington, 3 points and 3 rebounds. But one of the more athletic players I've seen put on a Drake uniform. And honestly, yeah, as a Bulldog fan, did it suck seeing him leave? Yes, it did. But can't blame a guy for wanting to take a step forward and possibly get more money in NIL. Can't blame him at all for that. And he gave us a great year as Bulldog fans watching him. So those are the main storylines heading into this Drake and Texas Tech battle. And let's kind of dive in a little with that Texas Tech round 1 battle against UNC Wilmington started off easy. I mean, you're watching that first half, and it looked like Texas Tech was quickly going to get to the bus back to the hotel and be previewing Drake. They were up by 16. They were running their offense smoothly. UNC Wilmington didn't really have an answer for anyone on the floor, especially in Kerwin Walton. Huge 27 points by the end of the night. JT Toppin, who's been a great player all year long in the Big 12, finished with 12 points and 11 rebounds. Elijah Hawkins with 14 points. He had 4 out of the 5 starters in double figures. All that was going well for Texas Tech. But then that 16-point lead quickly goes down to 4 at halftime. And that was thanks to a huge run by the Seahawks with a 15-3 run to end the half. And in the second half, that's when it became, oh, welcome to March Madness. A 14 seed in UNC Wilmington just started to answer everything for Texas Tech. And now Texas Tech is a good three-point shooting team. They were third in scoring offense in the Big 12. They usually outscore their opponents by 13. They're top 5 in field goal percentage. They were second behind the arc throughout the year, averaging 38%. But last night, not only do they shoot the most three-pointers a Texas Tech team has ever shot, in 46 three-pointers, they only made 13. But here's the thing. Watching that game, you look at that stat and you go, man, they were just heaving it. They were good shots. They were open most of the time. The ball just didn't fall. And I think when you have watched this team throughout the season, I know Cyclone fans have paid attention to this team. This is a team that can catch fire from behind the three-point line. And Drake is a really good team at getting off ball screens and really guarding the perimeter. But that will be a main key of, can they force uncomfortable shots? Can they force Texas Tech again to have a cold shooting night like they did against UNC Wilmington? I think the athleticism just got to the Seahawks in the terms of they were doing some really good things, but down the stretch, the depth, the athleticism of Texas Tech prevailed. And Texas Tech able to beat UNC Wilmington 82-72 in Wichita and advance to the round of 32. This is a team, we talk about how Drake has been able to really, they've been a great storyline of losing almost every player but 2 returners, and bringing over Ben McCollum, having to rebuild, and then you go 31-3 in what would be a, air quotes, rebuild season. And Texas Tech has been a great story too. Last year they missed the NCAA tournament. They end up being, or it was 2 years ago, missed the NCAA tournament. They win the 2023 NIT championship. And then in 2 years after that, now they're in the round of 32. They have a good coach in Grant McClassen. And it is going to be a fun battle between these two teams that know each other, 2 teams that have connections, and 2 teams that are still trying to make history. Drake, though, I like this team because they're battle tested. Drake 4-1 against quad 1 teams. They're now 2-0 against the best conference in the country, beating Vanderbilt in the regular season and of course Mizzou last night. This is a team that really can compete with anyone. And I mean it because, yeah, people will talk about depth. People will talk about size. Drake's so fundamentally sound, they're able to compete with those disadvantages. I mean, there's 2 7-footers on Mizzou, and they out-rebounded them 31-26. There was 2 7-footers for Kansas State, and Drake out-rebounded them and won that game. This is a team that can really compete. I think the biggest key that, and again, it was proven last night, is if they can just dictate the pace. If Drake controls the time of possession and dictate how this game is going to go, it is really hard for teams to play at that style because it's so physically demanding. And that's, again, credit to McCollum, the coaching staff, for the conditioning that they have their players at and the way they're so fundamentally sound. Because this is a style not everyone can play. And this Drake team does it incredibly well. I think this will be a battle, and I'm really excited to follow it along. So be sure to follow us along on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, of course, Facebook as well, as we give updates throughout the week and throughout the games. Tomorrow, 5:10, Drake taking on the 3rd seed Texas Tech Red Raiders in what will be a really exciting game. Should look up here real quick if they even have the line out for this one. Against Mizzou, the line was 6.5, which everyone, I think, who followed Drake went, that's going to be closer. And I'm going to say it again. I'm going to sit there and go, I'm not agreeing with ESPN bets saying Texas Tech is favored by 7.5. It's going to be close. I take the points. If you're Drake, you are going to cover that if you're the Drake Bulldogs. But 5:10 on TNT, if you're not able to make it down to Wichita, hopefully start to see a little more blue out there in Wichita. A great fan base for last night's game, hopefully some more for Saturdays. But a huge thank you to everyone that's been following along during the NCAA tournament. Hopefully we keep this ride going. Survive and advance is the key. And really appreciate all your guys' comments. Really appreciate Red Raider Nation having me on as well. That was really cool of them. So appreciate that. Go check out the article. And we will see you Monday now. Because after the game Saturday, we'll post a few things. Coaches interviews, player interviews, of course, and game updates. Sunday, we're waking up early and traveling no matter what. So Sunday, we won't have a special podcast out. We'll save that for Monday at 2 o'clock, where we will break down all that happens over this weekend and preview the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 around the country here on Media Row, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper. Have a great weekend. Have a great time watching nothing but basketball for the next 3 weeks. And stay up to date with everything Drake and more on Media Row with me, Justin Miller, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper. See you Monday at 2.